Interesting one for the keeper, Russell! Goal won't stand. There's pushing on the goalkeeper, says referee Chris Bambridge. And Bobby Russell, who hasn't scored since 1983, the 27th of March in fact, is denied. Pushing on goalkeeper Jeff Olver is the decision, and the goal won't stand. Those South Melbourne fans will surely be disappointed. A lovely floaty cross by Postecoglou. Hung there, an awkward one for the keeper. And Charlie Egan, in fact, is the player who's penalised for pushing the keeper, although it was Russell who put the ball in the net. Russell turns around and pleads that I didn't do anything, but the goal is cancelled out. Charlie Egan, the culprit as far as South Melbourne are concerned, and Bobby Russell denied a goal that for him would have only been his 8th in the NSL in 192 matches. Fireworks being thrown on by the fans. But I think looking at that replay, Tim, a correct decision from referee Chris Bambridge.
Well, I think he blew almost before the ball went in the net. He certainly penalised Charlie Egan for obstructing the goalkeeper. I think that's the decision, and the replay clearly shows that.
Jeff Olver fully recovered from that knock. Now Marley. Kessie caught offside. So a free kick for South Melbourne. Now Zentopoulos. All the way back to Lometz. Now Pappas. Salamides. Theo Salamides. Now Pappas. A good run by the youngster. Keeping that one in. Away by Blair. Now Holford. He comes off of Con Pappas and away for a goal kick. So Con Pappas made his debut last week for Heidelberg. Australian-born youngster with some Greek experience. Just returned to this country a couple of months ago. Now Marley. Lucchesi. Lucchesi! Side netting. Well, Claude Lucchesi was signed to bring some experience and some punch to the front line. He's certainly done that this afternoon. Marley's the player playing the ball out of defence. Lucchesi sets off on his way. Ball bounces vitally for him, puts it past Lometz, but into the side netting. Now Miranda. Stopped there by Angeli. Marley. Now Blair. Zentopoulos. Still after Zentopoulos. Holford. Try to play that into the path of Bobby Russell. Salamides. Away this time by Zentopoulos. Angeli. Away this time by Blair. A good forceful header off the head there, that time of Higgins. Pappas. Dispossessed there by Dougie Brown. Now Holford. Marley was the player there. Hooked away by Mike Valentine. So now watch, about 8 minutes left. Davidson. Steve Marley there took a knock from Alan Davidson as he went past him. I might add, it was accidental. Now Valentine. Dispossessed that time by Bobby Russell. Davidson. Now Russell. Still Russell. Egan. Still Charlie Egan dancing around there in the penalty area. Crowded out by defenders. And now Blair. Mistake that time by Zentopoulos. This is Zinsis. Still Paul Zinsis. Now got players up in support. Lucchesi. Still Lucchesi. save by Lometz. Lucchesi that time denied by the goalkeeper. But Claude Lucchesi really settling into the role with his new team. Really tested the goalkeeper here, and the keeper was equal to it. So a corner for Heidelberg. Mike Valentine comes across slowly to take it. Scrambridge indicating that he'll add time on for time wasting. So Valentine throwing that one in, safely taken by the keeper. Lometz. For that matter, Jeff Olver, two of the most consistent goalkeepers in the Olympic Soccer League. Now Russell. Freegan. Quickly closed down by Alan Hunter. So Bobby Russell with the throw. Russell calling an offside position. So now watch, Tim, 5 minutes to go. Can South Melbourne get back into this?
Well, it's an end-to-end game, and it's a terrible thing to say, but one of the better players on the field was sent off, and the game has absolutely come to life. It's really end-to-end. It's very exciting at the moment. Heidelberg, to their credit, haven't tried to sit back and keep the one-goal lead. They've pushed forward looking for another goal as well. And we've had a very good 45 minutes in the second half, apart from the isolated incident where Gary McDowell was unfortunately sent off.
So the free kick from Alan Hunter goes straight into touch on the far side. A throw for South Melbourne. So Bobby Russell. Not too many options open at the moment. Picks out Alan Davidson. Still Davidson. Davidson. Now Dougie Brown. Missing that one in, looking for Egan. Postecoglou. Just run out of space. Well, that's one player who certainly has impressed him, Angelo Postecoglou.
He was just a little bit unlucky there. He just pushed it a little bit too far, but certainly his defensive qualities are good, and he seems to time it well when he gets forward. He's definitely a player for the future.
Salamides. Kessie. This is Pappas. Skills from the youngster, still Pappas. Enforced square across the field. Played that one behind his skipper. Angeli. Angeli. Run forward by the big defender, Lucchesi. Still Lucchesi. Well, the shot was on target, but he didn't get the power behind it that he wanted. But certainly on this afternoon's performance, he's going to prove to be a good buy for Heidelberg. Begins. All the way back to Jeff Olver. Begins again. Heidelberg now quite content to waste some time at the back. Only a one-goal lead. Claude Lucchesi. So close on 3 or 4 occasions this afternoon. He's in action yet again, just failing that time to keep the ball in play. Organising and directing traffic. A foul throw, in fact, against Postecoglou. We've seen 2 of those this afternoon. You don't usually see them in this standard of football. Certainly these 2 teams have pulled out a good crowd here in Melbourne in conditions that have been ideal for soccer. Now Zintzis. Zintzis. Now Pappas. Shot blocked by Stevie Blair. Russell. Now Egan. Carl Holford trying to pick out Postecoglou on this side. Ball goes out of play. On our watch, we're into the final 90 seconds. There'll be a minute or so of stoppage time to be added. Lucchesi, now Pappas. Salamides. Salamides. Trying the shot. It was a good run from the big midfielder. Former international. And 17 appearances for the Socceroos. His last appearance, in fact, in the 1984 World Soccer Series. But he's led his Heidelberg team today by example. So a throw for Heidelberg. Now Salakis. Still Peter Salakis. Mr. Koglu. Pushing there was Zintzis. Still Zintzis. Play by the youngster right across the face of goal. Nobody could get a touch for Heidelberg. Ryan Garvey, Heidelberg coach, still shouting instructions. He'll know that we're now into stoppage time. Lovitz stopping that ball going for a goal kick. Desperation now to get this ball forward. Disappointment there on the face of John Margaritas. Now Lucchesi. Zintzis has made a run through the middle. Still on Lucchesi. Came off as Xanthopoulos, away for a corner on the far side. Arthur Xanthopoulos. He's had a strong game at the back for South Melbourne Hellas this afternoon. Their longest serving player. Heidelberg in no hurry to take this corner. Mike Valentine ambling across to take it. Referee Chris Bambridge indicating he'll add time on. So Mike Valentine, who scored the all-important goal, with the corner. Trying to curve that one in. As the final whistle goes, South Melbourne Hellas, the Southern Division champions, have been beaten here at Middle Park by Heidelberg United, the old enemy. The only goal came after 27 minutes of the second half, scored by Mike Valentine. And it was scored after South Melbourne had been reduced to 10 men 6 minutes into the second half with the sending off of Gary McDowell. Tim White, a game that really was played in stops and starts.
Well, it looked as though it was a game of two halves. Hardly anything at all happened in the first half, and the second half was a very exciting game. A very good goal, well executed by Mick Valentine, and as I said before, probably at the period when Heidelberg were having their worst time. Nevertheless, they came forward, they stuck one in, 1-0. They'll be very pleased with getting 2 points away from home.
Well, certainly the South Melbourne fans will go home disappointed, but the Heidelberg fans now have something to celebrate. A victory over the old enemy. The final scoreline here at Middle Park in Melbourne is South Melbourne 0, Heidelberg United 1. And let's cross now back to Les Murray at the St George Stadium in Sydney.
Well, thanks, Michael. And as it happened to you down there, it was a 1-0 scoreline here at the St George Stadium. And here, too, it was an upset. It was Apia who won the match, 1-0 by virtue of that goal in the 24th minute by Vince Colagiuri in the first half. Vince Colagiuri is with me, as is Apia's coach, Veli Rashic. Vince, obviously you would have thought you deserved the victory. I thought you did. How did you see it?
I tend to agree with you, Les, especially for the work we did in the first half. We created a lot more opportunities up front and possibly could have gone in more than one goal ahead.
Was it difficult to stretch the St George defenders and outplay them, because you obviously had some game plans for them?
Well, we knew they would use Dave Ratcliffe as much as possible, and so we knew we were up against a lot of running, which we did do, and I think we did successfully, especially Darren Stewart. So we managed to keep them pressed by that running across the back and force them.
Sure. Now you played quite well. Were you happy with your display today? I mean, quite apart from scoring the goal.
I think so. I'm doing more running now than I have done in previous years, and it tends to bring, I think, more confidence and more competitiveness to the game, the more running, the more involvement.
How come you popped up today? Because we didn't see you in that, and thankfully, as far as you're concerned, I suppose, in that 6-0 loss to Olympic, but you were in the starting lineup today.
Well, pre-season has been very competitive, and it still is. We have 3, 4, sometimes 5 players vying for the front 2 or 3 positions. So we've been kept on our toes, and so everyone's expected to pull out all stops to stay in the team.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised that Rally's doing that. Was there any special reason why you put Vince in today rather than 1 or 2 of the other strikers, Rally?
Yeah, we actually concentrated all our match playing on David Skin, and by doing so we created space in the middle of the park where Terry Butler is one of the better footballers today in Australia. So we needed one sparring partner with Darren Stewart on opposite flank, and our game is based on the flanks, so we always encourage players to take the man on and beat on a direct 1-to-1 situations.
All right. All right, well, now generally it's been a very good day for you, as it was last week. 2 victories on the trot, which is not the way it seemed 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago when you lost here 6-0 to Olympic. You're obviously happy with the way things are going.
Yeah, point-wise, yes, but still a lot of work has to be done in our club. Like in the second half, we fell in a trap of being a bit negative. And I want the team always to be positive and to be always